Muench, you know this, man. Sometimes the tape just speaks to you. That was the case for me with Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback. It should be a fun one today. Our summer scouting series continues next, and we're going to sort out this QB1 situation heading into the 2025 college football season. You know, there's just 336 days until the NFL draft. There he is. Muench, you good?
I'm good, man.
All right, seduce me a little bit, Tucker. Quickly becoming one of my favorite parts of the year, and I love that big smile on your face, Muench. Summer scouting series. We've drilled in, like, this is where we belong this time of year because it's where the process is. It's what NFL scouts are doing, so we've got to share that with our audience. And speaking of our audience, like, appreciate the support. The fact that this number of people are still watching us at this point in the year in the NFL and college football schedule just shows what we're building here, and we just want to say thank you. I can speak for Steve here. We are truly appreciative. And Muench, tell the folks how they can continue to support us the way they have.
Hit the follow button on Spotify. Go to the YouTube channel, The McShay Show, and hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment. We're reading the comments. We appreciate all the comments. We really hope you guys are feeling like you're a part of this thing because we're trying to make you a part of it. He's at McShay13 on his socials, Instagram and X. I'm at You Good Muench. That's MUENCH. And consider subscribing to the McShay Report. I mean, I said it on the last show. I thought the last one we talked about Arch Manning, I thought was one of my favorite ones so far.
And Garrett Nussmeier, the breakdown is going to be on the McShay Report as well. So Google that, subscribe, and yeah, let's just all encompassing. Let's get you kind of hook, line, and sinker. Let's bring you in and let's continue to build this thing. You mentioned the comments, Muench. I had a great opportunity yesterday. Up at 4:30 in the morning, get up to Logan Airport, fly to DTW, Detroit, and was invited to this. It's called Spotify Sessions. For people who don't know, we teamed up with Bill Simmons and obviously his company, The Ringer, our good friend Ryan Russillo. We've kind of have helped with his career. He helped with my career. It's kind of come full circle, and we're all working together. But the parent company for The Ringer is Spotify. And we all know Spotify. Like, who doesn't have Spotify as part of their life, right? And so it's really cool to, like, take a day away from all this. By the way, is there any better place in the world to watch tape than on an airplane?
You love watching tape on an airplane.
Oh, my gosh. Because
I'm not. I'm raw dogging it, man.
Hey, you raw dog it. You are a raw dogger. But so I took a day away from like being here in the typical grind, but I did watch Nussmeier on the way out and on the way back, and finished up at about 1 a.m. and sent Conor and Dan all the stuff to get the newsletter going and preparing for the show. But in Detroit, it was fun, man. Like, normally that's kind of stuff I'm like, it's cringy. Like, going and talking in front of 100 advertisers. It was really cool because you know why? Because, this obviously in Detroit with the automotive, I can speak. It's a helpful trait to have in this industry. But in their industry, it's all about automotives. And so a lot of advertisers from all different corporations. And like, they're excited. And the people at Spotify are excited about what we're doing. And to hear, because it's just like we're talking to Dan, we're talking to Conor, we got Mark in the background, we got Tucker setting all this up. And I think what's lost is, like, there's this whole thing going on and there's excitement about what we're doing, and to share kind of our passion. And one of the things I was explaining, I'm like, for like 17 years, I was obsessed early on in my career about the comments and all, but it was such a negative environment. And I got here and I was so nervous after the first couple shows to go back into that comment section that's like poison. It's like Saban says, rat poison. And I'm like, and so I like winced as I went and started looking through, and I'm like, oh, people are kind of enjoying getting to know us, knowing our process, and kind of scrolling up. And I'm like, okay, constructive criticism. Yeah. Yeah, he's right. I do need to let Muench talk. He agrees with my daughter Alaire. So it was really cool to share all that. And the best part of it, I'm going to be honest, we've been very fortunate in this industry to meet a lot of amazing, highly successful, driven, motivating type of people. So like a lot of times I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to meet him and get to know him a little bit. But then I found out that I'm co-hosting this thing with a couple executives, but also DJ X.
That had to be cool.
Spotify. Like I told her, I got up on the stage. I'm like, yo, X, I've already got you don't know about it, but I got a relationship with you already. Like you start a good playlist for me on my Spotify. And when I'm driving in the car, I'm like patting you on the head and you don't even know it. And then I get pissed at you sometimes too. So it was really cool. It was cool to see that there's support in this company and people are noticing what we're doing and kind of on the forefront with some of the video stuff. And they were sharing all the things from our show. So excited to continue to grow. All right, let's get into it.
Let's go.
Garrett Nussmeier, LSU quarterback. I'm going to start with this before I get into his profile and bio and background. What a thrill ride, man. What a thrill ride. Like when I opened this up and said like certain prospects speak to you, like the tape speaks to you. Some guys like you're watching it and you're kind of grinding through it and you're looking at it and like, all right, what's he going to do next? And you're hoping that this was like, I can't wait. All right, this game's over. Every game was telling a story to me. And I'm like, all right, what's next? How's he going to respond next week? And it was so much Baker Mayfield. Like the thrill ride, the ups, the downs.
But it's the best comp you've had, I think, maybe ever. I mean, because I saw that. I wish I had seen it after, to be honest with you. I saw that comment on X before I really started to dig in. And then it was, I wonder if it would have been the same way if I hadn't seen it until after, but it was in my mind the entire time. I'm like, God, he looks like Baker. He plays like Baker. It's very, very familiar if you watch Baker's tape.
It's like you have to take a deep breath after every game. It's like, all right, I'm going to need a minute before like that Ole Miss game. All right, I'm going to need a minute before I dive into Arkansas. Like I got to kind of,
yeah.
We'll get into all of it.
Right.
Let's just give it, all right, for everyone who's watching and listening, and we appreciate it again. Let's just give a little background on Garrett. He's listed at 6'2", 200 pounds. We'll see what the officials are next spring, right? He is
small, a little light. Not small, but light.
And same kind of deal with Baker. Baker was a little bit thicker in the lower, but he's not lean. I wouldn't say I wasn't watching and looking. He's lean, but Baker's just got a real thick trunk. Garrett is entering his 5th year, okay, but his 2nd year as a starter. He's played in 31 games, but just 14 starts. So remember all that talk last year? Like I got him all I call them pundits, whatever you want to call them. Everyone was racing to X and racing to Instagram and racing to Threads. And it was like, I've had him QB1 since August. No, I had him at QB1 since July. And we kept on saying like, love a lot of the stuff he's putting out there, but like, he's not ready yet, you know? And really, we were like encouraging him ourselves as we were talking through it, really want to see him come back to school. So that here he is. He's 10-4 as a starter, engineered 3 fourth quarter wins as a starter. And one of them was actually the bowl game the year before, Wisconsin in the ReliaQuest Bowl at the end of the 2023 season. Okay.
He started 2 bowls. He was MVP of both of those bowls. Yeah.
Great nugget. Yep.
Yeah.
So last year as a starter, completed 64.2% of his throws, over 4,000 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, but 12 interceptions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gritty competitor, vocal leader, in charge, tough as nails, missed 6 plays, shoulder injury against Oklahoma.
But he looked like he was done. I mean, I thought maybe not for the game either. I thought he was, I mean, it did not look good.
Oh, he missed 6 plays, comes back in, and they wind up winning that game 37-17. His father, Doug Nussmeier.
Hold on, really quick. I got this nugget off his profile.
Okay.
He had statistically the most prolific first-year starting quarterback season for LSU. more passing yards, completions, attempts, touchdowns, and total offense than any other first-year starter in program history. Think about that. Good. I mean, think about the guys. I mean, yeah, that's impressive.
Very. His dad, Doug, is a quarterback in the NFL, also NFL quarterback coach. So, like, growing up around the game, Texas kid, big time 6A or whatever, the highest level is. He also graduated in May, interdisciplinary studies. So he's got his degree already. So going back for graduate school in this last year. That's kind of the backdrop, okay? When we evaluate quarterbacks, every single position has what we call universal traits, where it's production, and we give a grade to it. 1 being elite, 2 being good, 3 being average, 4 being below average, 5 being marginal. Okay, and so with every player at every position, that's why we call it universal traits. You've got production, you've got durability, you've got intangibles, and medical, right? And so, like, let's get a more complete picture next spring. When we're going into the NFL draft, I would say his production's a 1 coming into the seat off of 1 year as a starter, but it's an incomplete picture, right? For quarterback specifically, and every position has its own specific traits, right? For quarterbacks, and there's a lot of sub traits for each of them, okay? But we try to break it, and this is how we've done it for over 20 years. We got 4 quarterback specific traits. Mental makeup being 1, okay? Accuracy being 2. Load to arrival is a term. I think Trent Dilfer kind of created that, and it actually speaks to me. There's a lot of different terms and buzzwords and all this, like arm talent, but like essentially we've always done release quickness combined with arm strength, velocity of the ball, energy, whatever, however you want to phrase it. But that's the third one.
How quick can you get it from A to B?
Right. That's why I do like the phrase load, like LTA, load to arrival, essentially from when you've made that decision that you're going to separate your 2 hands to when the ball arrives. How fast is that process? Because some guys have really strong arms, but it's a windmill, down the back chute, takes a little too long. So it slows down the whole process. And then the fourth one is mobility, but with an emphasis on pocket mobility too. Obviously, running then is the second component of it. So that's how we look at it. And since that's how we evaluate, I kind of wanted to go through that process with you and kind of get your feedback on all of it. And let's start with the mental makeup.
Okay.
Man, I freaking love his confidence. And it started like the Baker stuff. Obviously, you can do the size and the suddenness in the pocket and all those different things. This guy is absolutely relentless. He's aggressive. He has no fear. Okay, and I do think there are elements of trusting his abilities and trusting his eyes and trusting those things appropriately. And I'll get to the negative part in a second, but. You always say, oh, he's a coach's son. He's a 3-time captain, coach's son. He's been around ball, all that stuff. Show me. And he shows me. He shows me with his command pre-snap. He shows me the way he gets to the line of scrimmage. It has been drilled into him at a very young age and all throughout his development. Like, your number one job as a quarterback, I was always taught this. Like, nothing happens unless you got everyone lined up and everyone's where they need to be. And with that comes communication, okay? And he's awesome pre-snap. Like, he's in complete control, the captain of the ship, and you see it on tape. Fast eyes, decisive, gets through reads quickly. Like, the trigger from when he goes, that's what it is. It's like, progression 1 to 2 to 3, whatever that is, or if it's just 1 to 2, when he decides, it's balls out. Post snap, trust his reads off of that. Here's where it gets wild. All right. He's got to learn when to not cross the line. And we said the same shit about Baker.
Right. And when you say all those good things, I think it's important to note that it doesn't mean, well, because people will look at that and be like, well, what about the interception he threw against Alabama and he didn't see Deontay Lawson in the red zone, or the interception he threw against South Carolina where he didn't see I think it was a linebacker, maybe it was a safety dropping. Quarterbacks get fooled all the time, man. We're talking about the body of work. This isn't Arch Manning. This guy is a full-time starter for a year. We have a lot more tape on him more often than not. Consistently, he can get through his reads. He makes sound decisions. He has control of the offense. Everyone gets fooled sometimes, and I think this is what you're kind of getting to. He has that with that the plus side of the aggressiveness and the confidence. There's the downside of it too, right? And he presses sometimes.
I say it all the time because I truly believe it's like one of life's great lessons. What makes people great is also potentially their fatal flaw.
Yep.
What makes Nussmeier great and why it's such a thrill ride is that he believes, he knows, he has lived, and like it is baked into his DNA of trusting my eyes, trusting my abilities. If this is right and I see it, it is.
Yeah.
And if he can bottle that up, right? And then learn. And it only comes from game reps, right? It only comes from game reps that you learn, oh, I made that mistake last time. I can't, I touched my hand on the stove. I can't do it again. Fucking hurts when I do that. It's painful,
Yeah.
And that's how you learn. And so, and I see it a lot late in games, trailing, games tight. He's a freaking renegade, man. In the positive aspects of that word, and also like he can be a traitor to his own team.
Right.
Look up renegade. What it means.
Yeah, that's harsh, but I know what you're saying. But I know what you're saying. He hurts his team sometimes with it. Yes.
Right. And like that's how it's drilled into your mind as a quarterback. Are you so good that you're better and above the team? This isn't a Nussmeier. This is more of a bigger picture,
general discussion. Yes,
But that's the mentality. We're going to trust you to lead. It's like the perfect storm. We're trusting you, Cap. Where are you taking us? Well, my life's miserable, and I'm dying to prove everyone that I'm a great captain. I can bring in the greatest haul ever to come back into Gloucester, Massachusetts' shore, into the harbor. Muench married a Gloucester girl. He knows exactly what that life's about. Wonderful Iris. Absolutely love her. Anyone who can put up with you is a saint.
That's so true.
But my point is that you've got to learn when, that storm's too big. The radar's telling me we got to get out.
Yeah, man.
That's what it is. And that's okay. He's 14 starts, man. He's got a chance to play another 14, 16, 17 this year. And I want to see that development.
Listen, it starts and ends with the Ole Miss game for me. I mean, you look at that, and he had 337 yards. He completed 43.1% of his passes in that game. But what happens at the end when it matters the most? They need to score, and they need to score to send it to overtime. He completes on the last drive, he has a 3rd and 10 he converts, a 4th and 6th, and a 4th and 5th that he throws the game-tying touchdown on. And then the first chance he gets in the very first throw he makes in overtime, he calls game. See you later. We're out. 43% of his passes, man. It was a horrible night. And they somehow walk out of there with a win.
I clip reeled it was like 200 and something plays, right? And so this is just, we can get timestamps later and all that, but like play 81 of my clip reel was fourth quarter pressing down 4. Okay. No, down 6, 11 minutes remaining in Ole Miss. Okay. Terrible decision. That interception, double coverage, terrible decision, forcing it. Just, this is the renegade
trying to make
part.
Something happen. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Then 3 plays later, hangs on to the ball too long, strip sack.
Yeah. We can get into that. We'll get into that, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, but gives Ole Miss the ball deep in LSU territory, led to a field goal. Now it's 23-6. It was down 4. I wrote 6 or down 3 or whatever it was.
Okay.
They're down 4. So now it's 7. Now they're down 7. Okay. But then, and I got asterisks everywhere, but like just absolute put it behind you. Next play, just unconscious. And like everything that you want, everything that you're taught as a quarterback, get it out of your. It didn't happen. I believe in you, and those 10 guys in that huddle believe in you. Go, and that's what he does.
South Carolina too.
Yeah, but the third and 10 scramble, which was play 89 on my list. The third and 10 scramble to MT to Mason Taylor. Absolute magic.
I love it. Yes. It was.
That was like the Baker stuff. Scrambling around, comes back, sees the receiver, gets it there. Mason Taylor was down, but he didn't think he was down, tried to run it in, but they brought it back. 3 plays later, drills a strike, skinny post, touchdown. I wrote in my notes, that fucking throw. Like that, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
The onions, the moment, and it wasn't a thought. It wasn't like, oh no, I've already thrown the interception. I had the strip sack. I'm completing 43% of my throws. It was, that's open. That's what I believe.
I'm taking
Put it on them.
Yep. Don't give me that because I'll take it.
And like you said, the overtime, then they go down and they get the win. So I'm exhausted talking about it. I was exhausted on the planes yesterday. You know? Yeah, and A&M, we talked like the infamous play, feeling himself. Oh, it's just, It's a wild ride, but we can get to more. So finish up on mental makeup if you want. If not,
I want to know what your grade is. That's what I want to know where you're going.
I gave him a 2 because
I'm right with you.
I absolutely adore his aggressiveness, his confidence.
You got to ding him though. You got to ding him a little bit.
He is in 80% of what you look for in mental makeup. He is the definition of a 1. From the control to the pre-snap to the post-snap to the reads to the fast eyes to the marrying his feet to the aggressiveness to all of it.
Yeah.
But in order to get
the pulse when it matters the most, just not caring. Yeah.
All of it. But if he wants to get that grade down to like a 1.5, we got to reel it back in those moments. We got to understand the circumstances, understand the moment. I did that last year as a first-year starter. I'm not doing it again this year. I'm so excited for a lot of reasons. I'm so excited to see Garrett Nussmeier next year.
Yes.
The 2.0 version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because think about what Brian Kelly did, and I'm not saying it's all Brian. I have a great deal of respect for Brian with quarterbacks, but think about the improvement we saw from Jaden. And Jaden had different tools and traits. He's not Jaden as a runner. We can get to the mobility in a little bit. He doesn't have quite the arm. We'll get to all that in a little bit. But the improvement we saw from Jaden in year 1 at LSU after transferring from ASU to year 2 was like 3rd, 4th, 5th round grades to number 2 overall pick. I'm really excited to see this development.
One other thing I'll add here is I think people need to realize how much he had to shoulder in terms of that offense. I think people would be stunned. Maybe your average college football fan would be stunned to realize that LSU ran the ball the fewest times. They were in the SEC. They had the fewest carries, fewest rushes in the SEC last year, and they averaged fewer rushing yards per game than any other team in the SEC. I mean, I looked it up and I was stunned that was the case. But we talked about it last year during the season a lot. They got to run the ball and help him out a little bit. Run the ball. And they never really got their running game going. And it was a lot of, we know what we're getting here. We know we're getting Nuss dropping back and trying to make plays. And that's what it ended up being. So if they can bring a little more balance for him too, and maybe start creating some windows on play action, that I think that we'll get into this in a second, he is built to exploit. It'll be interesting to see if the offense takes a step in that right direction there, and it helps out his overall game.
Agreed. Accuracy. Where were you?
I'm geeking out about layered throws, and he makes some layered throws, man. And what I mean by that is your ability to drop it over linebackers in front of safeties over the middle, throwing in the windows on the outside, his ability to put touch on the ball and put it where it needs to be and throw to spots, I think is impressive. He misses some throws. but not. I shouldn't say he misses some throws. He misses within the strike zone occasionally, especially when he doesn't set his feet. And I think there's times where he throws really well on the move, but there are times where you just wish he has time and space to reset and make a little bit more of an accurate throw. And I wish he would take advantage of that at times. But overall, I mean, I think he's an accurate passer with great touch. And again, that ability to drop the ball into spots, I think that's the difference between good and great quarterbacks, and he's got it.
I totally agree. And let's start with the negative. I think he can complete 5 to 7% more of his throws by doing exactly what you're talking about. He's so damn good at the off balance, off platform, leaning away, fading back because he has to in those moments. He's so good at that sometimes he gets lazy or complacent. He gets complacent where it's like, yeah, I'll flick that. And it's like, you don't need to. It's great. It's a great tool to have in your bag, but if you don't need to use that tool, it's like, it's like if you can unscrew the screw from the wall with your fingers, like it's going to be faster, more just like get it done. You don't have to go into your bag to get out your big screwdriver every time, know that it's there if you can't get it out, but ability to throw off platform, off balance, on the move is brilliant. Really, really cool stuff here. And I wrote in all caps, Baker. It's the same feeling I get when I watch Baker. Everything is urgent. You know what I mean? It's I see it and I'm going to rip it. And it's urgent and it's decisive. It's urgent. It's like, there's no question in my mind.
He has and Baker had a lot of these. I call them body language throws. Because if you're a coach, you're on the sideline, like you're bracing, right? You're gritting your teeth. You're kind of hiding. You don't look through. You're looking through your hand to watch
leaning.
The play.
You're leaning.
Like, that's don't do that. Don't do that. But he's so decisive, like we talked about with the decision making, and he's timing, and then his timing, and then his accuracy. He completes those throws. So it's one of those things where you're like, no. Oh, okay. All right. We're good. Let's go. Keep going. Like, keep the drive going. He has a lot of body language throws where you're like, man, I would not have made that play, but he will rip it in there because he's accurate and decisive enough and aggressive enough to do it.
Let me share a couple things with you. One is there's some quarterbacks you can just tell after enough tape just have like God bless them with like this natural touch and feel, right? And some quarterbacks don't have that. Now they can improve and they get better over time and it becomes acceptable and they're so mobile. They're all these things that it works. But some guys just have it. Like I bet you if he goes and plays darts, if he like anything that has to do with act, he just has a feel. And with that feel is trajectory. Like I can remember even playing in college, like I was terrible, like compared to some like Jimmy Miles would come in and he would just drill these throws, and I could never ever make a throw like 10 throws in a practice. I'm like God did not give me that ability. But then I would watch 2 or 3 throws where I'm like, that's so like, what's wrong? Like why can't you just take a little bit off? Understand if you just and they're the easy ones. Now obviously it's more important to have all that ability. But my point is, he has that knack and feeling, and I see it on certain things. You talked about the over the linebacker and the leading the receiver. You just can't coach it. You either you develop it, but it's in you. And there's so many times where receivers here, and the ball's here, and it's the perfect connection, right? The other thing that I always look at, and I've learned this over time, this came with experience in scouting quarterbacks. Give me a confined area. And I think it's why a lot of coaches, and I know a lot of coaches work on that drill. You'll see put a trash barrel in the back corner of the end zone, throw it from the 5.
Right.
Can you get it up, over, and drop it in? And everyone wants to drop it in the bucket. And it's become this thing. It's like, oh, you dropped it. Great job dropping it in the bucket. Where that stemmed from is it's a drill that quarterbacks work on where there literally is a trash can in the back corner of the end zone, and it's a fucking hard throw to make.
It is, man.
Because a lot of guys just want to drill it in because you see it, and some guys, most guys, when they try to get the trajectory to drop it in, you overthrow it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to get it up and then land that plane so fast and smooth. He has so many throws in that short confined area. He had one. I want to find it here. Oh, here it is. It was play 121 on my clip reel. Okay. But it was a touch. It was the touch fading. He was fading away. It was to the left end zone. I forget. I didn't even write it down, but, to MT again, Mason Taylor back at the end. When the ball goes up, Mason's on like the 2-yard line. Now I want you to picture in your mind, he's dropped back like a quick 3-step. It was like a shotgun, 1 step back, and pressure's starting to come. And so he's got to kind of fade back to his right, but backwards. And most quarterbacks in that instant would have tried to put it on him or would have gotten it in a line, because not only are you now trying to throw it from like the 5-yard line and get it in the back corner of the end zone, you're like, and from a normal base, you're doing it leaning back with a rush coming on because you're trying to get more like that split second by that time to get the ball out. Most quarterbacks I study, that ball is not, it's thrown more of on a line. Maybe they try to back shoulder fade it. They do anything but what he did. I watched it at first and I'm like, oh, he overshot that. Before the ball's coming about, oh, he overshot that. And then the ball goes up and leads. When the ball, and I went back and I rewound it and slow motioned it and paused it. When the ball came out of his hand, Mason Taylor's on the 2. Mason Taylor caught it in the back end zone with no room. So it was 12 yards he led him to, leaning backwards, and dropped it in. And the reason you put that trajectory on is because that DB's chasing down a taller, bigger tight end. And he had, in that split moment, sees him there, doesn't try to just throw it on a line, high point it, something like that. He knew if I get it high enough and drop it into that spot, he's got 12 yards to run under it. Like of all, and I've got like 12 of them here. I've got like over the linebacker, soft spot zone, sliding left tag, sliding to his left, fast eyes, going through reads, layers it, back shoulder fade, legs chopped out, still smoothly put the play. This is a bang 8, exceptional anticipation on deep ball. Like I've got all these things. The one I wrote in all caps was that, because that tells me he has a different level of understanding and just natural ability with trajectory, touch, and placement of the football. And that is absolutely going to translate to a lot of success in the NFL.
Yeah. Anticipation and touch under duress in the red area is, I mean, that's impressive.
I gave him a 1 for accuracy, and I see the flaws, but I think it's correctable.
I gave him a 2. So
okay.
Yeah.
But I could have 1.5 was probably the appropriate grade based off of the stuff we talked about. And he's weirdly inaccurate on a handful, not a ton. When he's moving and like he's down to like his 3rd or 4th, checking down to like a running back in the flat or someone, he has some really bad, just like dump offs where he'll throw it and the ball comes out weird. Like that's something, just it's a little thing he can work on. But yeah, so maybe 1.5 to 2 was probably better. But I just think he has an ability to throw the ball with accuracy, touch, and to lead receivers and anticipation that very few guys that we study coming out of college have.
Yeah, it's the anticipation that keeps standing out, man. It's that word and how difficult it is, that how underrated a trait that is for quarterback. But we keep saying it: anticipation, anticipation, anticipation. He knows where to throw the ball to. Like he throws it to spots where guys are going to be. He throws guys open, and I think when he looks at I think he does a really good job of identifying favorable matchups and understanding man to man and the defender's body position. If a defender's got his back to you, then you're give your guy a shot. I think he's really good at anticipating in those situations and just putting the ball where his receivers can go get it.
Release arm strength, or LTA, load to arrival, however you want to define it. We talked about it earlier. Where are you on that?
I think he's got a good stroke. I think he gets the ball out really well. And I think his arm strength, if he's throwing with a good base, there's no throw he can't make. I think he can make put, good zip on off platform throws, but doesn't have that elite arm strength to, when there's some off platform throws where I think the ball loses a little bit of the energy that you could see with guys who have an elite arm.
Totally agree. I gave him a 2. It could have been a 2.5. I'm not going to give him a 3. The ball, and part of the reason
I gave him a 2 too. I thought he was a 2.
Okay, meaning good but not elite, right?
Right.
Super quick release, and part of it is just like how fast his eyes work, and then the decisiveness from it. Changes arm angles effectively. The ball jumps out of his hand. Short or like intermediate, the intermediate throws, it jumps out of his hand. Good energy at the end, like in the deep outside the numbers type things. When with base and driving the ball, deep ball. I never saw him truly like having to just grind to get out a deep ball. I saw throws that were 45 to 55 that were like he didn't strain. Okay. He didn't strain for those. Gets the ball out. The thing with him is, and it's similar with Baker, we don't need to throw the ball 70 yards down the field in the air because the ball comes out with anticipation that is in like the 1%. It's the 1 percentile.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Great. I mean, we talk about this before. Often I think the best downfield passers aren't the guys with the strongest arms. I mean, we saw this with Nico at Tennessee. That kid's got a cannon, but he just couldn't, the touch and the anticipation weren't there. I mean, he was just overthrowing guys. When you watch these guys who have the touch and the timing, those are the great ones because they put the ball right where the receiver can run under it. They give their guys, I think, they know when to throw the back shoulder, when to lead the guys. And I think Nussmeier's got all of that. He's one of those guys. You might give him a 2 arm strength, but say he's a 1 downfield passer if you wanted to break it down into that kind of a category.
Yeah. All right. Last thing. This was a fun one to me. Pocket mobility.
Interesting. Yep.
I gave him a 2, and let me explain. And I'm interested to hear your take.
You're already defensive about it. I like.
I'm actually not. I'm not. And the beauty
I don't think you
is,
should be.
I actually feel really good about it because I had a 3 in the beginning. And I remember watching him thinking he may be closer to like a 3.54 because he never takes off and runs. He's not, like he's but the more I watch him, I'm like, this dude is sudden. It's the same stuff with Baker, right? Like sudden, everything's quick, everything's urgent. Really, like I really like his movement skills in the pocket. He's never a sitting duck. He's a moving target. It makes it really hard to sack him. He is a moving target, and he does so with a good base underneath him for the most part. He does so with his eyes down the field. Like he's at a pro level in terms of movement while maintaining like the appropriate balance and watching down the field. I think he's agile enough to elude rushers. Absolutely fearless. Okay. No flinch in this dude.
The Florida touchdown pass in the middle, I think, of the second quarter was late in the first half. He took 7 sacks in that game.
Yeah.
7 sacks in that game. And I know it's still kind of early. It's the middle of the second quarter, but he gets popped and he throws an absolute dime to the slot receiver down the seam for a touchdown. That was one of the more impressive throws I thought he had all year.
Here's the part that's interesting. He can run.
Absolutely. This is not, I expected a guy who was going to be more of a stiff. He's not.
He doesn't unless it's necessary, but he can more. I actually want to see Nussmeier come back and run more. Here's the fascinating part. And I'm going to reach out to BK, to Brian Kelly. And I want to know, my guess is that an emphasis this offseason is we're not designing runs. We're not RPOing and all that.
He's not that guy. No, right.
He's not that guy, but we're going to need you to run more. And here's the other thing. And I'm interested to see, like I looked, I couldn't find anywhere in his bio. If I had to guess, and audience, find this out for us, I'll reach out and we'll find out. And I didn't do a deep dive in it. I'm on planes. I'm more worried about the tape. My guess is he doesn't have a baseball background.
Okay. I didn't see if he did.
I looked for it. I couldn't find it. I even typed it like Nussmeier, high school baseball. I didn't find anything. And And it came to mind because I'm like, you know what? Part of the thing is, I don't know that this dude knows how to slide effectively. You watch him at the end of runs.
Yeah, gotcha.
You watch him at the end of runs, and there was a handful of times where I put just a note down. He kind of gets to that point where Baker's great at that. Takes off. Mahomes great at that.
Yes,
right. And they both have
how good they are.
Kyler Murray, great at that. They all have baseball backgrounds. Those three jump to mind when I think of guys who take off, they run, they get what's there. But like, I'm not peddling in that nonsense of like taking on guys or trying to juke at the end. Like, we got 7. I don't need 9. We got 7. Let's get a 2nd and 3. I'm more valuable back there on 2nd and 3 than I am trying to grind out 2 or 3 more. I'm not Josh Allen. Okay. LSU's got a pretty good baseball program. It wouldn't shock me. And this is where my mind goes. It wouldn't shock me if he spent a little time in the off season. But it's just a little nugget. I think part of the hesitation at times is he gets to that last point. Go back and watch a little bit of some of his runs. You can go break it down on the PFF Ultimate just to watch his runs. Towards the end, there's a lot where he's like, and just leans his shoulder in and kind of goes down. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I gave him a 2, as I said. Would you go higher?
I think he's a solid 3. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. The one I'll go with the negatives because I agree with a lot of the positives. He has a really good feel for it. He knows how to create windows. He moves around really well in terms of creating windows and getting into space where he can make throws. I love that stuff. I think he has a tendency for some reason to spin out to his left at times. I feel like he does it a little more than he needs to. And more than anything else, the fumbles are killing me, man. He's got to do a better job of taking care of the ball. 5 fumbles, puts the ball on the ground too much. The ball security's got to be there. He's got to have a better feel of when that's closing in on him and take better care of the football. So easily could be a 2 if he cleans that up. He cleans that up, I'm fine with a 2. And again, I'm not going to lie. I really did expect a stiff. I thought he was going to be more like, this guy's just a pocket passer. And that's not the case. I remember I was just watching him. I was like, this guy is never going to be, he's never going to be a threat as a runner. But if you line up and you play man against him and he gets a lane on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, he'll burn you. He'll pick that up. He'll run for that first down. You got to be careful about that stuff with him. But yeah, not a stiff.
Watch someone from our comments we were talking about earlier is going to come back like, yeah, he was drafted. He's like a 2nd round draft pick in MLB. Center fielder. He stole 90 bases.
Right.
In high school. Hell, you talking about? All right, let's wrap it up. I'm just really excited about this year with Garrett Nussmeier.
Me too.
He's not Lamar. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Patty Mahomes. But he's Baker Mayfield. And looking back on it in the right system with the right people, with the right support, Baker Mayfield was one of the, he's, 7, 8 best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. Probably, right? Yes. He's not in that elite tier, but he's not that
top 10. Top 10.
Yeah.
He's in the top 10. I believe, watching him the last couple of years, he has emerged as one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. And you look at all the busts and all the mistakes at the quarterback drafted number 1 overall. Look at all the issues that have come. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be like the safest thing since Andrew Luck. There's no such thing as safe. I believe in what this guy has to offer in the NFL. And so I look at it. My mind is it's somewhere and I'm not giving him a grade right now. Let's go through all the other quarterbacks and kind of rank them and stack them. I want to wrap up with this. For me, unless I see something unearthly that I didn't expect to see, that is beyond my expectation with Lenore Sellers or Cade Klubnik or Drew Aller, and I've watched a ton of their ball so far, more so Aller and Klubnik, just based off of the amount of experience they have. But I am ready right this moment on May 21st, 2025 to say Garrett Nussmeier is absolutely in the conversation for QB1 in 2026. He is absolutely in the conversation to be the first quarterback off the board in the 2026 NFL draft. I believe in Garrett Nussmeier's game. I believe that he's going to be I believe that if he can make improvements in the areas that we've talked about, if he learns how to slide and becomes a little bit more aggressive as a runner, I think running can also take away from some of those moments where he's deciding to hang in the pocket a little too long or trying to force the ball into situations. That could be his secret sauce. Running the football just a little bit more could be the secret sauce for Garrett Nussmeier to take his game from a really high level to he's the first quarterback off the board in 2026. Okay. I'm fired up to see that because I believe that Brian Kelly does develop quarterbacks well. I now know that they have an off season. I saw it with Jaden Daniels, right? And now I want to see it with Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to go that far, but because it was in my mind, and I was like, how far are we going to go with this conversation? Because I know it kills you when everyone wants to set the board in May. But I will say that he absolutely has to be in the mix. I think he's got to be in the mix to be the first quarterback off the board. I saw the same things you did.
This is awesome, man. I love these.
It's fun. This is a good one.
This is the time of year to do what we're doing, to actually sit down, focus on one. And you know what we got coming up? This is a Thursday show. Monday, Lenora Sellers, right?
I think we have 1 week off, right? Because of Memorial Day, and then we got Lenora Sellers when we get back.
Oh, yeah.
You're off your game with your scheduling, man.
I'm not. Marissa's not here. Conor's not here to protect me from myself. The next time we have a show for you, and everyone, happy Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Enjoy family. Get on the barbecue, man. Get creative. Don't just throw a couple hot dogs on there. Get creative. Okay. We're back June 2nd. I want some reports. What'd you grill? What'd you do? Weather looks terrible here in the Northeast. I don't care. My ass is going to be out there on the grill. Fires everywhere, smoke everywhere. I know, Muench, you're a better chef than I am. But we appreciate your support. Appreciate you being here. When we're back on June 2nd, it's going to be Lenora Sellers, South Carolina.
Can't wait.
Kate Klubnik, Clemson. Okay. Drew Aller, Penn State. It's shaping up to be a pretty good quarterback class. We know there's a quarterback out there that we're not even talking about now that's probably going to be a first rounder. Maybe one of these guys won't. This is the best time of the year to get this foundation, and we appreciate you guys being a part of this with us. Enjoy your Memorial Day. From Muench and I, take care. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.